Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. Instead of just spitting out a dry definition, we're actually going on a tour. We're going to go inside a really fascinating productivity method by exploring the one place where its most passionate users live and breathe this stuff. So let's dive right in.
So the big question, what even is a Zettelkasten? The literal translation from German, something like slip box, doesn't really do it justice. It's a method for managing your knowledge, sure, but to really get it, you gotta see it in the wild. You have to see how its community actually uses it, debates it, and, let's be honest, kind of obsesses over it. And that's exactly our destination for this explainer, the Zettelkasten Forum. By just looking at what these people talk about, what they argue about, and what they get excited about, we can start to piece together the real soul of this method. Think of this as our little expedition map.
Okay, first stop on our tour, the hot topics. What are the conversations that pull in the most eyeballs? The most popular posts are like a perfect window into what really matters to this community. Let's kick things off with just a number, 55,000. That's how many views the single most popular post on this entire forum has. I mean, what on earth could be so interesting that it gets that much attention in what's a pretty niche community? And here it is, the barbell method of reading. Isn't that interesting? It's not a specific app, not some complex philosophical thing. It's a post about, well, reading. And that's our first huge clue right there. For these folks, how you take in information is every bit as important as how you organize it.
And, the barbell method isn't just a one-off fluke. The other top posts totally back this up. You've got Reading for the Zettelkasten is searching with almost 15,000 views. Another one pits the author Cal Newport against the method. It's really clear what gets this community buzzing. So, the main takeaway here is this. The Zettelkasten method isn't just a fancy way to store notes. No, it starts way, way earlier than that. It's a whole system that wants to rethink the entire pipeline of knowledge, right from the very beginning, with this simple act of reading. That is obsession number one.
All right, on to our next stop. Now that we know what they're obsessed with, let's look at how they talk about it. It's time to decode some of the lingo, the core principles that really fuel all these debates. If you hang out in this forum for, 5 minutes, you are going to see this word, atomicity. It's a huge foundational concept. The idea is pretty simple, actually. Each note you create shouldn't be this long, rambling page of different thoughts. Instead, it should capture just one single atomic idea. That makes it way easier to link and connect with your other ideas later on.
But here's what makes this community so cool. They don't just accept these principles like they're gospel. They are constantly poking at them, questioning them, trying to make them better. A thread title like, "What is next for atomicity?" That tells you this isn't some settled rule. It's a living, breathing conversation. And this just shows you the level of detail they get into. They're not just asking, what's atomicity? They are literally dissecting the subtle difference between the pure idea and how you actually pull it off in the real world. This is a community that thrives in that gap between theory and messy, everyday practice. Okay, so we've seen their obsessions, we've seen their core principles. For our third stop, let's get practical. How do people actually build these things? What are the tools of the trade? The forum categories themselves tell a pretty clear story. The archive, which is what they call their note collection, and the ZK method are the two biggest topics by far. When you add in software and gadgets, it's obvious. A massive amount of their energy goes into tweaking and perfecting the setup. Yeah, this is not a community that just, picks a tool and gets on with it. Oh no, they are deeply, deeply invested in optimizing every single piece of their system, from the software they choose to the exact workflow they follow. It's kind of like they're all trying to build the perfect workshop for their brain. And man, do the discussions get specific fast. You'll find these epic debates about timestamp IDs, deep dives into old school tools like Emacs, arguments over markdown files, backlinks, and this recurring obsession with making sure their system is future-proof. This is serious stuff. So this brings us to our final and
honestly the most important part of our tour. We've seen the hot topics, the core ideas, the tools. But why? What is the point of all this effort? Let's just try to connect all the dots, right? We've seen this obsession with how to read better, these intense debates over abstract ideas like atomicity, and this almost overwhelming focus on the tiny details of software and tools. What's the grand purpose that ties all of this together? From everything we've seen on our tour, it really boils down to this three-step mission. First, you have to capture ideas effectively. That's why they care so much about reading. Second, you use principles like atomicity and tools like backlinks to connect those ideas in new and surprising ways. And finally, the whole point of it all, to create brand new, original knowledge from all those connections. And if you had to bottle up the entire spirit of this community into one sentence, it would be this, adapted right from one of their own discussions. This isn't just about taking better notes. It's about fundamentally changing how you think and work with information. It's about developing a deep knowledge work practice. So, what is a Zettelkasten? Well, after our tour, we can see it's way more than just a method. It's a whole practice. But that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. Is this complex system the ultimate tool for generating deep, original thought? Or is it a really tempting rabbit hole of endless tinkering, where perfecting the system becomes more important than actually using it? The answer, as the forum itself shows us, is a very, very active debate.